Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Korange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm going to try the gallery view. I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, if I'm just trying something, because I always get to either look at myself or look at nothing. It would be nice if I could look at some people. So if you don't mind, if you could turn on your videos, so that way I could see you. I'm going to just see if it helps, because it's just not a normal thing to give a class to yourself, if I see myself, or to give a class to nobody at all. So it's nice to see people. I think it might be easier. Nobody ever does this, so I'm going to try it this time. So we're going to be reading, of course, part of it, we will have the picture of what we're reading on screen. So we're up to the first chapter. We're doing text number 31. I just got to put some more lights on for me, so I can see better. Thank you. Okay, it's text 31, if everyone there. Okay, we have it up there. So you can repeat after me each line. Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Atva janam ahave.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Nakangshe vidyayam Krishna.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Nakangshe vidyayam Krishna.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Nakangshe vidyayam Krishna.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Acharajam sukhani cha.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nacharajam sukhani cha.
Nachashreyo
Nachashreyo nupasyami.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Atva svajanam ahave.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
Nakangshe vijayam Krishna.
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
न च श्रेयो न पश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनमं हवे
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
न कंसे विजयं कृष्ण
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
न च श्रेयो न पश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
काङ्क्षे
काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
राज्यं सुखानि
न
न
च
च राज्यं सुखानि च
न
न पश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनम् आहे
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
आकाङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
न च श्रेयो न पश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनमहावे
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
न च श्रेयो न पश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनमहावे
हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
हत्वा स्वजनम् आहवे
हत्वा
हत्वा
स्वजनमाहवे
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
न
न
काङ्क्षे
काङ्क्षे
विजयं
विजयं
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
न च राज्यं सुखानि च
Anyone else want to chant? Na,
न
न
nor, ja, also,
also
Shreya, good,
good
good
Asyami,
पश्यामि
do I foresee,
Do I
I
foresee
foresee
Hatva,
Hatva
by killing,
by
by
killing
killing
Vajanam,
Sajanam
own kinsmen,
own
own
kinsmen
kinsmen
Ahave,
Ahave
Ahave
in the fight,
in the fight.
in the fight
Na,
Na
or,
no
Angshe,
kangshe
say
do I desire,
I desire
Vijayam,
vijayam
Jayam
victory,
victory.
victory
Krishna,
Krishna
Ah,
O Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
na,
Na.
nor,
Nor.
cha,
Cha.
also,
Also.
rajam,
Rajyam.
kingdom,
Kingdom.
ani,
Kani.
happiness thereof,
Happiness thereof.
cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Translation. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Purport. Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attached to bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya, who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life, who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhaktalesha Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Puchani Nivase Sanyari Krishna Chadri Satarani. For some of you weren't on in the beginning, I requested if everyone can turn on their video, because I'm going to see if it's easier to give class when I'm actually seeing who the people are and possibly their reactions, especially when I say a joke and nobody laughs. See, now I can see some people laughing, so now I like this better. So if you don't mind, turn on your videos. So this verse again, I'll read the translation. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So we can see and we can pretty much feel and understand why Arjuna is feeling this way, why Arjuna is disturbed. He has a task that nobody would want to do. And this is what he's supposed to do. But I want to start, I'm not going to read the whole purport, I'm going to read the first sentence of the purport. Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. So this is the nature of the whole material world, is that everybody wants to be happy in the material world, in their material situation, with family, friendship, and love. And this ultimately is not going to make one happy. There is some happiness in family. There's also a lot of distress, and there's happiness and love, and then there's also uh, distress. There's so much in the material world doesn't it does it's not what you expect it to be. You have some idea of how wonderful everything is going to be, and generally it doesn't turn out as wonderful as you expect. Now, if you're actually a devotee of Krishna, if you're actually giving your life to try to serve Krishna, then you can even have more, not necessarily so, whatever Krishna has planned, but lots of times the friendship, the love, the relationships we have in this material world are not as distressful, and they bring some pleasure too, but that doesn't, but the real happiness and the real pleasure comes from rendering service to Krishna. So now Krishna wants Arjuna to fight, and Arjuna is thinking of his happiness, but he's not thinking of his real happiness because he's purposely put into illusion so that Krishna can speak this philosophy to him. He's not normally in illusion. He's put in illusion by Krishna just so he can speak Bhagavad Gita. Because he would normally just do whatever Krishna wants. So that's the way a devotee would think. A devotee would know that if I just do what Krishna wants, then I'll be happy. That's the only thing that's going to make me happy. So here he wants to be happy. He's thinking of his self-interest, but he doesn't know what his real self-interest is. Once Srila Prabhupada was told by the devotees, was telling Srila Prabhupada how selfish he is. I'm so selfish. And Prabhupada said, it's okay to be selfish if you know who your real self is. So your real self-interest. I'm a spirit soul. What's the best thing for me? The soul. That's real selfishness, knowing what's best for you. And that's okay. What's best for you? The soul. So it's best for you, the soul, to surrender to Krishna, to please Krishna, to do whatever you can for Krishna. That's the best thing for you, the soul. So not like thinking, which is the way Arjuna is thinking, if I engage in this battle, what's going to be the results? I win the war, I get my kingdom, but all these people who are friends of mine, relatives of mine, they're all dead. What's the use of having a kingdom? It's just like, what's the use of having, so much opulence if you don't have anybody to either share it with or to enjoy that happiness with you. I remember when I used to do book distribution, one of the things I would say, not all the time, but sometimes, is if you want to, if you're happy, if you're really happy, you don't want to just sit in a room by yourself being happy. You want to share this with somebody. And these books, make you happy. So you want to share them. You want to give them to other people. But it's a fact. Who would like to be alone in their house being happy? What's the use? Something. If you really feel happy about something, you'll call somebody. I mean, especially during COVID-19, but other times you might even go visit somebody. So you have to know what is actually going to bring you real happiness. And the material world, we're not saying there isn't happiness. It's Chapala Sukha, it's flickering, it's there and it's gone. So it's considered not real happiness. Real happiness doesn't end. So in such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the cause of the material happiness. So ultimately, the cause of all happiness is still Krishna. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes of a Kshatriya. So as a Kshatriya, if a Kshatriya fights here for some reason, and I don't know why Prabhupada is saying this, that you go to the sun globe, but there's other places where you get liberation, or you go to the heavenly planets. But I guess the sun globe is a heavenly planet. It's speaking of just one particular planet. But if you die in battle, you go to the heavenly planets. It even says this in the Bhagavad Gita, in the verses, as we go further in Bhagavad Gita. And the other thing is, even if you don't go to the heavenly planets, if you don't die, then you get the earthly kingdom. So no matter what, it's advantageous to fight in this battle. So even that would be, even materially, it's a good thing to fight, because then you're doing your duty as a kshatriya. And a kshatriya, the whole reason they're fighting is because Duryodhana or Dhritarashtra, but Duryodhana mainly, didn't want them to have any land whatsoever. And they have to have a kingdom to rule. Even just a small village, they had to have something to rule, and as a kshatriya, and they wouldn't give them. So they had no choice. They had to fight. And then if they died, they go to the heavenly planet. So, or in this particular instance, it mentions the sun planet. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. So anyway, Arjuna is in this illusion. This is not normal for Arjuna to be thinking this way, but he has to. And this is a plight that all of us go through sometime or other, not in this sense that we're on a battlefield and we have our relatives that we're fighting and we may have to kill our relatives, but in the sense that we have decisions to make. We have to decide something, and both things may seem not very good, no matter which one I do. And ultimately, the only right thing to do is whatever Krishna wants. Sometimes we don't know what Krishna wants. Many times we may not know what Krishna wants. But if we make that effort to try to find out what Krishna wants. So anybody have any idea how you try to find out what Krishna wants?
Ask Pyari Prabhu.
Who said that?
Ganpati Govindas.
Yes, that's right.
Phone a friend, lifeline. Ask Pyari Prabhu.
Well, you can try that. It may help. That's one thing. Anything else?
When all else fails, recognize this is what Krishna wants.
No, you have to make a decision.
Oh.
It's not just what happened. You have to make a decision, and you're not sure which one is what Krishna wants.
Well, then definitely ask your superiors or acharyas, or find a solution in a dream.
So basically, go to sleep. Okay.
In my case, yeah.
Okay. So besides asking me or somehow having a solution come in your dream, is there anything else you can do?
See what aligns with sadhu, shastra, and guru.
Okay, but that doesn't really answer the question. That's if it, because say for instance, what should I do? Should I let's get something that, okay, you're going to get married and there's two people you can choose to marry. You don't know any of them really. How do you decide? Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu doesn't really help in that instance. You want to decide what's the best thing for you spiritually. I'm not saying that's the only example. It's just one example I'm given only to show that There are many decisions we have to make that are going to affect us. They're big decisions. And it's not like we can go to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to get that answer.
He want to think, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, he want to think like a Kshatriya, like, because Kshatriyas need to rule the kingdom. That's how he want him to see and look at it.
I don't understand what you're saying. He wants us to, I'm not sure what you just said. Can you say it again?
He want Arjuna to think like a Kshatriya.
Oh, no, the question has nothing to do with Arjuna. The question has to do with you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What do you do when you're in such a situation? That I know nobody's going to be in the situation Arjuna is in, but a situation that I'm not sure what I should do. There's so many reasons why I should do this and so many reasons why I should do that. I mean, Arjuna's is easy to know what to do. Ours aren't as easy. Arjuna has Krishna telling him what to do. So he just does that. That's all he has to do. Now, if you want to do what Krishna wants in making some decisions, what's something you can do? We have two things. One is asking some authority. One is going to sleep and hoping you get a dream and Krishna tells you. Those are the two options.
Well, poll a few people and go with the majority.
Okay, that's something. A lot of times, people are not going to be able to answer the question. Anyway, no one's yet said what I'm looking for, but even what you're saying, like for instance, go with the majority. If I give that example, there's two people you can marry. Astrologically, they're about the same. That's all you know about them. Maybe you see their picture, they both look same, or you didn't even see their picture, who knows, whatever. And you have to decide who you're going to marry. You can't ask a friend, and you can't get from the majority.
So we can toss a coin.
By using gut instinct.
You can toss a coin, but if there's
you can look at their background, you can look at different variables, do they come from a good family, other stuff, and then decide based on that.
No, I'm saying, of course, you're going to have to make some decisions based on they might be pretty obvious. This one is not good. This one is better. But we're talking about, and you can't do, well, you could do coins so many times because say there's more than one, say there's 10 people, whatever. How do you know which one? How do you decide?
You write it down on a piece of paper and put it in front of Krishna's picture or deities.
And then you pick it up and read it.
I do that, Prabhuji.
No, you have to put more papers. You got to put both names like that. I've heard that. So that's one way you can do it if you have faith, because then you're hoping that Krishna's giving you the right one. That's one thing. And I mean, another thing you can just practically do is you can pray to Krishna. Krishna, please let me know. I want to do what is best for what you want me to do. I want to try to please you. So please tell me whichever one. See, the problem sometimes occurs is you have some particular desire. You like this more than the other thing. So you're hoping Krishna picks this. So you have to be genuinely willing to do whichever. It makes no difference to you. You just want to do what's best for your spiritual life. And you're just asking Krishna, not what's best for your material life, just what's best for your spiritual life. And you can pray to Krishna. That's what we should be doing. So John Rani had some way of doing it. That Krishna can certainly do that. You mix up the papers, you don't know which is which, and then you pick one. But then you have to, is this what you really want, Krishna?
Prabhuji, I have one question. So when we pray to Krishna and Krishna How do we know that we are hearing what we want to do, or we are hearing Krishna's voice? So that's also very difficult to distinguish between.
Yes, it is. But the more you follow this process, the more you'll be able to see which one it is. Because you don't want to listen to your mind. Your mind's going to say things too. But sometimes you know when Krishna is saying something.
But Prabhuji, if the devotee's mind, right, it's been driven by Krishna, maybe mind is saying the same thing what Krishna wants us to do, right? So should we go with that then?
No, not what you're thinking, unless you're a pure devotee. If you're fully surrendered to Krishna, then there's no question, you know what to do. We're talking about those who are not pure. Mind is like the heart, you know, and if you're pure, then you know. Even Srila Prabhupada asked, or a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, like after you leave, how would we just listen to Super Soul in our heart? And Prabhupada says, if you're pure, so you can't just listen to Super Soul unless you're pure. You won't know the difference between Super Soul and your mind. So if you're thinking, well, whatever I'm thinking, that's what Krishna wants, Krishna's making me think that, that means you're a pure devotee. Most people, their mind is it says in the Bhagavad Gita, your mind is your best friend or your worst enemy, depending upon your conditioning. Most of us we conditioned our minds for sense gratification. When there's something we like, then our mind tells us to accept that. And if it's something we don't like, our mind tells us to reject it. That's the nature of the conditioned mind. It says in the conditioned state, our mind is our enemy. Our mind is just telling us what's best. It could be once in a while, what's best for our own sense pleasure may be also best for Krishna. But generally, our mind is not going to give us good advice in the conditioned state. That's why we have to use our intelligence. We don't listen to our mind. Intelligence is to analyze things in their proper perspective, which is what pretty much everyone was saying about what to do, is to figure out, analyze it. There's so many good things on this person, and this person has these qualities, you know, so then it's easier to see. Just like we want to make a decision on buying a car, which car to buy. We can get a piece of paper and write what's good about buying this car and what's bad about buying this car. What's good about buying the other car and what's bad about buying the other car. And then we can look at it, and lots of times one of them will stand out. Yes, this is definitely better than the other. But if you're just thinking about it, it's hard to see. So that's using your intelligence. But I'm saying even beyond intelligence, Krishna can communicate with any of us anytime. And when we're pure, we can hear him. And how do we become pure? Of course, we all know, chant Hare Krishna, follow Krishna conscious program, and we can become pure, hearing and chanting about Krishna. And even in the impure state, we can still hear Krishna. Krishna can tell us something. And that usually comes from what I see when you pray very much. You just stick with your prayers. At least that's from my experience. But I mean, there's what else do you have? The other, and we're all agreed originally to use your intelligence. That's the first thing you should do. Not listen to your mind, but listen to your intelligence. And with your intelligence, it says by the higher self, you control the lower self. So with your intelligence, you can control your mind and you can control your senses. So Arjuna was, in this case, this is not normal for Arjuna to be like this, but in this particular case, he was more making decisions based on based on his own mind and senses, not based on what's best for Krishna. You know, and there's no way this can happen when Krishna is right there and he's your best friend and he's telling you these things and you already know that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. So somehow or other, even as Krishna's company, he forgot. And that's only done by Krishna. It's not like he's the first person he's done this to. After the battle of Kurukshetra, when Bhishmadev was lying on the bed of arrows, Yudhisthira Maharaj was so distressed that he had killed so many people. So many people had died just for him and his brothers to get a kingdom to rule. And he felt he's going to go to hell eternally. He's feeling really, really bad. So different people advised him that you didn't do anything wrong. Krishna personally told him that he didn't do anything wrong. He did the right thing. Still, Yudhisthira could not accept it. He still thought he did the wrong thing. Srila Vyasadeva told him he did the right thing, and he couldn't agree with Srila Vyasadeva. He felt so. Now, when it said when Krishna told him, he told him that you didn't do anything wrong. This was the right thing to do. This is the proper thing to do. It was your dharma to do this. But in his heart, Krishna in his heart was telling Yudhisthira something else, that no, don't listen to him, which is Krishna himself. And he did this because he wanted to glorify Bhishmadev. And then when he went to see Bhishmadev, his devotee, Krishna doesn't care about people thinking, oh, you're so great, you did that, you were able to convince Yudhisthira. He wanted even when God couldn't convince Yudhisthira, Bhishmadev was able to convince Yudhisthira while he's lying on a bed of arrows completely through his body, but yet he can think so clearly and speak so clearly that he was able to convince Yudhisthira that Yudhisthira did the right thing by fighting this battle. So sometimes Krishna will externally say one thing, but internally in his heart say something else. So he put Arjuna in illusion for us to try to understand more about how we should make decisions. Ultimately, the only decision we have to make is whatever Krishna wants. But sometimes we do have difficulty knowing what Krishna wants. But Arjuna didn't have that problem of knowing what Krishna wants. He knew what Krishna wants, but he still thought that something may be wrong. I mean, even with Srila Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna, a very, very senior devotee, was told by Srila Prabhupada, well, I can tell a little bit of the history. Tamal Krishna was in charge of the Radha Damodar party, and the Radha Damodar party had buses that traveled all around the US, and each bus had 4 or 5 vans that traveled around and to different temples and different places and distributed books. And when they go to different temples, lots of times they were convinced, because everyone on the party was a brahmachari or a sannyasi. Sannyasis, there were a few sannyasis, and then the crew that went out to distribute books and stuff, they were pretty much all brahmacharis. There was no woman on the party. So when they go to the temples, they would try to convince the other brahmacharis to leave the temples and join their party, and they did. Many of them did. So the temples were very upset with Radha Damodar. Almost all the temples, not all. Orlando temple in Orlando or Lacho, I think it was Orlando at the time. But they very much liked Radha Damodar because they were distributing so many books and they helped them. But every other temple in America was really against Radha Damodar. So when they went to India and they're having the GBC meetings, temple presidents were very upset with Radha Damodar, and they brought all this up, and Prabhupada was there, and it came to Prabhupada, and they had to decide what to do. And Tamal Krishna said, well, maybe I'll just go to China. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you should go to China. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, no, well, I can't go to China, because if I go to China, then who will run the Radha Damodar party? And then he said, well, we can get someone else to do that. Anyway, what happened was Tamal Krishna gave Srila Prabhupada so many different arguments as to why he shouldn't go, even though Prabhupada was saying to go. Now, one of the things we can get out of this is that we just want to make sure that Srila Prabhupada understands all of these things, and then we just do what he wants, but we should at least present whatever doubts we might have. So in that sense, it was okay. Although I think he went a little bit too much in not accepting to go, and then finally he did accept to go to China, and that seemed to diffuse the whole Radha Damodar problem at that time. But, you know, so Srila Prabhupada, even if you're spiritual master, there's different ways. I know that if I was there and Srila Prabhupada told me to go to China, this is what I was thinking at the time, I'd go to China. I wouldn't have any idea what I'm going to do in China, but I'd go. I'd just try to do something. You know, and I was thinking Tamal Krishna Maharaj was wrong in you know, giving these different arguments. But then I can see it's not so wrong to bring things like, to say things that Prabhupada could be overlooking, and just make sure he understands the whole picture, even though he's the guru, and he's, you know, Prabhupada, of course, is not just the guru. He's the, you know, Acharya, but still we can present to him some things just to relieve our doubts. Maybe he's not considering this. Maybe he doesn't know about this. And even Srila Prabhupada lots of times would ask, what do you think we should do about some problem? What do you think we should do? So why is he asking us? But he does. I just thought about today, Tamal Krishna Maharaj had asked me if I thought somebody should get initiated. And I said, definitely not. But I see it a little differently nowadays, because we were traveling, he was a brahmachari traveling, but he was the worst brahmachari I ever had on my party, biggest baby, every little thing, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that, you know, so he wasn't very surrendered. So when he asked me that, I said, definitely not. He should definitely not get initiated. But then Tamal Krishna Maharaj recommended him for initiation. So I was thinking about, why did he ask me? I still don't really know why he asked me. But I can see why he could have been initiated, because he was into Krishna consciousness. Just book distribution was too hard for him. But that's all we did on Radha Damodar. He should have been doing something else. But at the same time, when he asked me, I gave him an answer. So, and I'm sure when Prabhupada asked, Prabhupada did whatever he thought, but just maybe there was something he didn't know, so he's asking. But here, you know, with God, there's no question of him not knowing something. You know, a guru maybe doesn't know something. You may want to bring it up, any doubts you might have. But what is Krishna? Oh, if we kill these people, then what's going to happen with all the women? They're not going to be protected. Oh, Krishna, oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, you're right. You know, Krishna knows everything. We can't. So he is put into this illusion. I mean, this is a really good example of how he's in this illusion. Krishna's telling him something and he's thinking something else. So Arjuna is reluctant to kill even his enemies, let alone relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he's not willing to fight. So just that, he's not going to be happy. Nobody be happy. They kill all their friends and relatives and, their teachers, their guru. So many people, I'm going to kill them. How am I going to be happy? You could think like that, but we shouldn't be considering our happiness. We should be considering Krishna's happiness. That's all. If Krishna's happy, if I kill them, then I'm happy. That's all. I just want to see him happy. Or as Gopi said, if my unhappiness gives Krishna happiness, then that unhappiness is my greatest happiness. That unhappiness is my greatest happiness. My suffering is my happiness if it brings pleasure to Krishna. So that's where Arjuna is wrong. He's right. All his arguments are right, that you're not going to be happy. But the point is, if you do something to make Krishna happy, you have to have faith. That's going to make you happy. And even if it doesn't make you happy, it doesn't matter. Krishna's happy. That's all that matters. That's love. That's very advanced. But Arjuna is that advanced, but here he's put into this illusion. This is a person who does not feel hunger, is not inclined to cook. I found that interesting. Prabhupada says, doesn't say just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to eat. Because sometimes we eat, even if we don't feel hungry, we still eat. But we don't generally cook, unless you have to cook for others. But you don't cook for yourself if you're not hungry. So he has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. He's frustrated. Why? Because he's in a dilemma. Because as a kshatriya, he has to have a kingdom. But what's the use of a kingdom when I don't have anybody in the kingdom that I love, that I have a relationship with? I kill them all so that I can have this kingdom. But without the kingdom, I can't live. It's a dilemma. So because a kshatriya cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live in a secluded life of frustration. So that's it. That's my only option. I'm just going to give it all up and just go to the forest. And he's not going to be happy in the forest. I mean, he could survive. He's a kshatriya. He'd be able to survive somehow, but that's not going to make him happy. He needs to rule. But what's the use of ruling when they're not there, all my friends and relatives? So this is the dilemma Arjuna is experiencing, and he is experiencing this so that we can benefit from it. So when we have some dilemma, the answer is what Krishna wants. But that's why I was asking how to find out what Krishna wants. So it is good. It says something, there's something about if you ask 3 Brahmins, then you could feel confident that the answer is correct. Like, what should I do, this or this? And you ask 3 Brahmins and they all say the same thing, then you can feel confident that that's probably what I should do. If that's one way, but you have to know what to do. But a lot of things don't even matter what we do. Like I mentioned earlier about getting a car, which car to get a paper, pluses and minuses, why this is a car that I'd like, what I would not like. But that doesn't matter. I don't think in 99.9% of the cases, as far as Krishna is concerned, which car I get. I don't care. I don't think he cares too much about that. So in those cases, you could just make a decision. You don't have to ask 3 Brahmins. I think the Brahmins would tell you, what the heck are you asking me this question for? Should I get this car or that car? Of course, if you ask me, I'd probably tell you which car you should get, what I think would be best. Okay, well, we got 10 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, anyone have any comments?
I have a comment. Mingwei Mataji was saying that they still remember Tamal Krishna, Maharaj as the pioneer of China.
Who?
Mingwei from Wuhan, who joins
Oh,
her.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Who
she
did they
said they still remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj as the pioneer Maharajas of China. Like she doesn't know most of the Maharajas here, but she knows Tamal Krishna Maharaj.
Did she meet him personally?
No, she just heard about him in the centers there. No, she's too young to have met him. I don't think she met him.
I have no idea how old she is. Or
She's a student, yeah.
you could be an old student.
Yeah, and she could have met him when she was a younger person, but like a child, but
Well, I can guarantee it. If she met him, it was when she was a younger person.
okay. And I was going to say, I don't just go to sleep and get the dream, the answer in the dream. I ask the question and then I get the answer.
Oh, that's how you do it. What should I do?
What should I do? I don't know what to do.
Then just get your pillow and lay down.
Alexa, switch on counter light.
What?
Okay.
Oh, I don't think she's talking to us.
Talking to Alexa.
What?
Talking to Alexa.
Sorry, Pyari Prabhu.
Oh.
She's speaking to Alexa Mataji.
Alexa is her servant.
Yes.
She's switching on the light for her.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier if Alexa does it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I had one question.
Yes.
So here Prabhupada talks about these two categories of elevated people who can enter into the sun globe. So I just wanted to understand, is there anything special about the sun globe? Because all we are endeavoring for is going back to Golok Vrindavan. So yeah. Should we also, is the sun globe some place that we also should endeavor to be reaching?
No.
What's so special?
Don't waste your time going to the sun globe. I mean, it's a nice place to visit. But it's a waste. It's a heavenly planet, just like any other heavenly planet. But what do you do there? You know, it's like, so you can enjoy. It's very nice. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you're just going to be burnt, but you have some fiery body, which is cool.
So people in the renounced order of life, they become eligible to enter into the sun globe, but eventually they also can go back to Golok Vrindavan, right?
Yeah, no devotees in this movement want to go to the sun globe. No devotees in this movement want to even go to a Vaikuntha planet. We'd all like to go to Krishna Loka planet. But even if a Vaikuntha planet is still, you know, the spiritual world, we don't discourage anyone from going to any Vaikuntha planet, but we would personally rather go to Krishna Loka. We're more attracted to Krishna. So there's nowhere in the material world, you know, there's a verse from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all the places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. The sun globe in particular is really hard to picture that as a heavenly planet, but it is. I mean, but we can picture, let's just picture Indra Loka, Indra's planet. Now that is a heavenly planet where we can relate to and how wonderful it is, but it's all just sense gratification. Much, 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 much better than anyone in this world can possibly even imagine how beautiful and how wonderful and everything is, but it's temporary. So why waste your time going there? Just a phantasmagoria. We should just want to go back home, back to Godhead. And that's way better than the heavenly planets. And the difference is in the heavenly planets you enjoy. But in the spiritual world, you're trying to give enjoyment to Krishna. You also enjoy, but that's all you do is try to give pleasure to Krishna. And then you enjoy like anything.
And didn't Srila Prabhupada said that Goloka Vrindavan is village life, whereas Vaikuntha is more Aishwarya Bhava, right?
Yeah, it's in Vaikuntha, it's the Lord is worshipped in awe and reverence.
With a great opulence, yeah.
With great opulence. There's great opulence also in Vrindavan, but it's not,
Yeah, but
not the same at all. It seems very simple life.
right, right.
Like my mother looked at this picture. I'll show you the picture here if I can. I don't know if you could see that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at it and she said, they dress so beautifully. They have all this jewelry. They have these crowns. They have so much opulence. Why don't they have any shoes? So that's Vrindavan. So even though they do have such they don't have shoes. Where I'm sure on the Vaikuntha planets they probably have shoes. Nice, really nice shoes.
Yeah, in fact, I think Vasudeva's mother in Dwarka was saying, like, poor Krishna, they didn't take care of him well. He didn't even have shoes. She said something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So in Krishna Loka, it's definitely more. But if you look, they do have such opulence, all this jewelry and stuff, but yet it's very simple. It's very simple life with the
Yeah,
cow.
because the goddesses of fortune are there, right, serving them.
Right. Anyway, we want to go there and we shouldn't want to go anywhere else. Don't deviate. You don't want to, I mean, don't even be curious. Well, what is it like on the sun planet? Oh, it's hot. It won't be hot if you live there. It'll be perfect. It's hard to relate to the sun planet for me. But a heavenly planet, what is it like? It's so wonderful, perfect for sense gratification. And then you just get in more illusion. Think more that you're the body. Of course, when you think you're the body and you have such a beautiful body, you feel good. At least here we're more realistic. We think we're the body, even though we got a terrible body. We're in this illusion. So in the spiritual world, we just want to please Krishna. Well, at least on Krishna Loka or other planets, you just want to please God, whatever form he might be in, whatever incarnation. And of course, we have that experience now. When we actually do something to please Krishna, when we make some sacrifice, then Krishna becomes pleased. And we also enjoy. You go out on book distribution. I don't know how many people here have been out on book distribution, trying to sell books to people who you don't know and trying to stop them. And then when you sell some of these books to them, you really feel good. Has anybody here had that experience besides me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Who said that? Oh,
This is
Rasra.
Rasras.
Nobody else? You got to do it. Go out there, make the effort. Not right now, right after COVID-19, after you get your vaccines. Go out. But or you do any kind of surrender. It doesn't have to be book distribution. I find book distribution like the most demanding surrender. Like practically full surrender you have to do in order to do well at book distribution. Whereas a lot of other things you can do well without full surrender. But if you fully surrender to any service for Krishna, you will feel good. Lots of times throughout the yatra, devotees surrender from early in the morning till late at night, just fully engaged the whole time. And then afterwards, you feel really good and you sleep well too. And then maybe you have a dream of Krishna telling you what you should do. Okay, so no other questions?
It doesn't happen all the time, Pyari. I wish it did. I can keep asking till the cows come home.
Well, it may not happen all the time, but that you try all the time is good.
Yeah. So many times I said, like, I want to dream of Srila Prabhupada. It never, ever happens. Never, ever happens.
Prabhupada said if you dance with Krishna, in kirtan, then when you sleep, you'll dance.
Dream of Krishna.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to remember that.
So you got to dance in kirtan in front of the deities. And look at the deities while you're dancing. And then if it didn't work that night, next time you come, dance harder.
I got to lose a little weight before I can dance in front of deities lately.
Well,
Eventually, you will lose when you dance.
That's true, right?
That's right. Anyway, he doesn't see the bodies. He sees the soul dancing.
That is true.
Okay, so
lately I'm just bewildered rather than any kind of clarity.
Well, you better sleep and then have a dream. So your bewilderment will go away. Anyway, that is all for our
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have few questions for today's class.
Oh,
Poll question.
quiz.
Yeah.
Oh, that. Oh, I wish I'd known earlier. I could have ended earlier. Okay, yes.
Not many.
I would have, Pyare Prabhu would have prepared better, right?
Oh, this one was good. I liked it.
We have 30 more seconds.
It was only 5 questions, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to be sure.
He made it quick this time.
Right, 8 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, go, end. Okay, here is the result. So the Prabhupada in the purport gives the first analogy that a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. That is the analogy he gives in the purport. And the second question is, just now Dev Prabhu asked this question, like who are eligible to enter into the sun globes. So Prabhupada says that the first two option, Prabhupada says like Kshatriya who dies directly in front of battlefield under the Krishna's personal order, and a person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture. So the first two options are correct. Third one is this is also the Arjuna appears to have this is also Prabhupada says that Arjuna forgot the moral codes of Kshatriya. And fourth one, like in this verse, it's a Krishna only, not any other names. It use Krishna. Then last one, it's a Chapala Sukha, flickering happiness. That's what Pyari Prabhu used while speaking about symptoms of material happiness.
Good.
Yeah,
That's
that's all for
100%.
that's all for today's poll. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Oh, I forgot you're doing that. Really good. Thank you very much.
Krishna Prabhu.
Next time I'll pay more attention to my class.
Good one, Pyari.
Even I am confusing speaker too.
Hare Bol, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभय एव च
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा
Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा
Jai. Srila
हरे
Prabhupada.
कृष्णा